G'day frothers, welcome to the patio, or whatever the hell you call this part of your house. Today I'm going to be doing a quick intro to load cells, and more specifically, how to get some for cheap, how to start getting into bolt testing affordably, and how to do it kind of safely too. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so this was my first load cell. This one is 3 kilonewtons, and I managed to get this off Alibaba for, I think it was about $400, which was, more than I wanted to spend. It was still the cheapest one I could find. But, I thought for a first one, it was good to get a full calibrated set. You've got the indicator as well as the load cell. It came with some ring bolts as well, which are very big. You'll see in a second. And yeah, this one's not too bad. Like, it seems quite well made. It's a big old chunk of metal. There you go. 30 kilonewtons. It is calibrated to the indicator, so they say. Just a cheap Alibaba thing though, so I'm not really sure how good the calibration is. It's certainly not traceable. And you'll see I've got a little bolt stuck in the concrete over here, and don't worry honey, I reused an old termite treatment hole for that. I didn't drill a new hole in the patio. And of course we've got the foreman over here. So we've got a sensor, but of course, to actually do some proper testing, we need a source of tension. So in this case, it's going to be this wrecking bar. This is I think it's a 900 millimeter, so 3 feet. Yeah, it's probably not long enough for this, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. And this is basically how I do the setup. I've got this big block of concrete here just to raise the fulcrum up, basically because this load cell is really quite long, and you see the ring bolt that they actually came with are just way too big. And unfortunately the little extra ones that I bought, that one at the bottom, very poor quality, the thread didn't fit very well, and it actually popped off once. So anyway, this is as short as I can get this particular one, and that means lifting up the fulcrum, the end of that wrecker bar, as high as it can go. If you're doing this out in the field, you can find a rock or a log, or just actually come prepared. Okay, and then the tension is going to be provided by this. It's just the jack from my car. So there you go. Got a nice long lever. The fulcrum's elevated, so that's come on, high school physics, don't fail me. What is that, a class 2 lever? I think so. So anyway, let's see how it goes. Okay, so it's important to have everything seated, obviously, and do be careful if you're trying this kind of thing. Now, something I don't like about this kind of system is that you have to be right here to actually apply the force. So, I'm not trying to break this thing. I'll just go to maybe 8 or 10 kilonewtons. But, it is preferable to have a remote sort of control system for this. Okay, well, I'm running out of jacks, so this might be as high as we go. 2 kilonewtons, is that all? Okay. Okay, so we got up to, it's only 1.8 and dropping, so you'll see that it's dropping. That means the bolt is actually slipping as well. Basically the load cell is too long for this situation, but you get the idea. This kind of thing, very, very doable, very affordable, slightly sketchy, but Alright, so next up is the super budget version. So this is a $50 load cell. This one's 20 kilonewtons, but you can still get them pretty cheap. It says 2 tons on it. Very cheaply made, but it is just a chunk of steel. You can see where the cut isn't even really straight on there. But it seems to work pretty well. Now the indicator is this bare board, so that is a HX711 chip on there with a bit of extra stuff on the board. That little thing costs $7, and of course the disadvantage of this is it does not come calibrated. I do recommend you try and get one calibrated if you can, but I figured this was fine for me to try because I've already got my other one which came calibrated. I compare it to that. Now this one is also, it's all in Chinese. I remember this is the 0 button, but yeah, you need to find the instructions. Find some instructions in English for the whole calibration and setup of this guy. One big disadvantage is it doesn't have enough digits on here, so I calibrated it with 20 kilos and just said 2. So this number should be in tens of kilograms. So the cheap one is a fair bit shorter, but unfortunately these ring bolts are just gigantic. They're super annoying to find nice small ones that actually have the right thread size. But anyway, you know, that was 50 bucks. These are, I don't know, a few bucks from the hardware store. That was $7 or something like that. Runs off a USB or just a DC. I'm running mine off just my little battery adapter thing here. So all up, very affordable. Let's see how it goes. So rigged up as before, you can see it's a fair bit shorter, which is more user-friendly. You can get any style of load cell as well. You can get short ones, little disc-shaped ones, which I will probably get in the future. But anyway, you can see fair difference in the height here. We're already preloaded a bit. So this is lower. So this is lower as well. I do feel better about having the jack down lower. So that should be around 700 kilos or 7 kilonewtons. Okay. So that should be about 10 kilonewtons. Now, you can see it is dropping down, and that's because the bolt, that's a reused bolt hole, so it was filled with grout, so the bolt is probably just sitting on grout, but that's fine for my purposes. And yeah, anyway, proof of concept established, nice and portable, nice and cheap. Maybe consider getting a longer one of these or some better way to add the tension, but anyway, not too bad. Okay, so we ended up at about 1,000 kilograms of force, or around 10 kilonewtons, so that's about as much as I would pull test a bolt that I intend to actually leave in there, because, you know, you don't want to stress them so much that they're going to be deformed or damaged. But as you can see, this is creeping down, and that is because the bolt was in a reused hole, and I suspect the grout that they filled that hole with is sort of just crumbling away. So anyway, I wouldn't use a bolt that's doing that. I would use a bolt that stays steady for, you know, in industry you test for some amount of time as well without creep. But anyway, proof of concept for the system. Not too bad. I would feel a lot better if I had if I could be further away from the actual loaded parts doing this, but you know, got a face shield and everything. So yeah. Anyway, if you do want to do this, it's nice and affordable. It's semi-safe, but just make sure you stay away from any of the loaded parts and don't break things with a rig where you're sitting right here. If you're going to break stuff, get a motor, get a pump, something where you can be far away from the actual stuff that's going to go flying. So an even better way to do it is using the old high lift jack. So this is usually used for four-wheel drives, getting them out of trouble. Now these guys are super capable. They're very useful for a lot of things, but they do have a few ways they can actually fuck you up. So make sure you're familiar with that. In fact, go check out this video. Real good video from this very Australian dude. I'll just put a link here. But that said, they're super handy and very solid, basically ready-made pull rigs. So let's see how this one goes. Okay, so there's a bit of preload on there already. They do need some load to work. And unfortunately, once again, you are sort of standing in the firing line, but I got the old face shield on. You can also, it's also a good idea to cover these things with some kind of shroud so bits don't go flying. But hey, I'm not trying to break, I'm trying to proof test. So again, going to 8 or 10 kilonewtons just to make sure this bolt is going to be solid enough for my purposes. But hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you are going to use this kind of thing, make sure you understand the risks and you are happy to accept them. Ugh. Now it seems fairly stable. You may need to shore up the top with some guy ropes or something, but anyway, let's give her a burn. Alright, so I didn't see how high that went, but I think we've busted that bolt. so I didn't see how high this went. I'll have to check the footage, but that bolt is... Oh, the hanger has popped up anyway. The sling is frayed. She got pretty high. She got a decent load, and as you can see, it's kind of pulsatile. So it's a lever. It's 2 levers that grab the I-beam, and you'll have your tension when you're pressing down in a stroke. So it's not a clean pull, but you know, it's probably fine for your purposes. Just make sure you set that to peak, or whatever the hell they say. So you can see that these are pretty stable, but you may want to shore these up a little bit if you're going to be doing this kind of thing. Maybe some feet coming out, maybe a chock under that end of the foot. But yeah, pretty strong, pretty capable. Hope I haven't exceeded any working load limits or anything, but either way, if you do want to do pull testing, $50, $10 of stuff, $100, so there you go. $150 to give you a pretty good idea of what you're working with in terms of bolt strength. You know, by all means, go get a proper rig if you can afford it. So I'm not really into breaking stuff. I don't want to break the bolts that I'm going to be climbing on. So this is more about proof loading. Go to make sure they can hold up to, you know, 8 or 10 kilonewtons maybe. So assuming a fall will give you maybe 5 kilonewtons, that's a 2 times safety factor, which is pretty good. I don't really want to go any higher than that in any bolt I'm testing for that purpose, because, you know, you deform them. Don't want to break them, don't want to ruin them. Just want to make sure they're actually going to hold the forces that they need to hold. So anyway, so I am also getting some more compact load cells and working on a more user-friendly portable, especially upper wall, portable tensioner. But, you know, if you want to get into this kind of thing, you know, it's pretty accessible really. So anyway, I'm just publishing my methods like any scientist. And yeah. If you do want to try this, know the risks, be safe, have fun, and film it. And I'll scratch yous later. Yeah, wood whip.